and you've just heard Light Blue, the opening track on the new album Songs from the Wild Sea's Edge by Louise McCorkindale and Vitaliy Tkachuk. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Louise and Vitaliy now. Hello, both.
Hi, Ali. Thank you so much for
Hi,
having us on the show. It's an
Great. I
absolute
should say
delight.
one of you is in. Louise, where are you based today?
I'm in Aberdeen.
In Aberdeen. And Vitaliy?
and I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Is this? I'm not sure about the state.
Right, well, that's
In the
fantastic.
United States.
A
Yeah.
proper international call. And before we get to the rest of the album, we've just heard the opening track, Light Blue. Louise, what can you tell us about Light Blue?
Light blue came as a bit of a surprise, actually. I mean, there's all different ways of ideas and inspiration coming, but light blue was just a clash of ideas that actually just gelled together. There's quite a dark story behind it, which is I was one of my close family members got dementia and died of it. And we didn't really know what it was or how to deal
Right.
with it. This was about 10, 12 years ago when there wasn't that kind of awareness. And I remember when she would say things that were wrong, I would correct her because I thought, well, she needs to keep in touch with reality. And if I was wrong about something, I'd want to know, which is just not the case at all. And it was actually on reflection, once we realized what was going on reflection, I thought it would have been kinder just to join her in her
Yeah.
fantasy world rather than keep correcting her. So that was the emotional sore that light blue came from. But I also I love maps. I've always loved maps and those big blue spaces that are the ocean. So the two ideas kind of collided, and it's about having permission to live in that fantasy world where it's not so painful. So I think that's where light blue came from, and it was a bit of a surprise song. It was one of those that just popped up, just happened. Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a good place to ask a question I was going to ask later, but how the two of you work together. So, like taking Light Blue as an example, Vitaliy, how do you work together?
Usually Louise sends me her vocals and her accompaniment on ukulele.
Poor
She
you.
plays great. She plays great, by the way. And there is a song where it's just her and her ukulele, and it's perfect. I mean, it's one of my favorite tracks. Martha Brady, right? And I listened. So Louis sends me those audio files. I listen to them and think about arrangement. And I start recording guitars, and I do two or three of them, sometimes more. Sometimes it's like the whole guitar ensemble, both acoustic and electric guitar. Just starting building the soundscape.
And so,
And then
so
yeah, and yeah, we did it like live via internet, so Louise could hear me and she could guide me, suggested something, but mostly she was just sitting and listening how I play. And when I asked if I need to change something, she was just happy with what I was doing.
Yeah, it's true.
and it's a beautiful album. How did you come to work together, Louise?
Oh, well, it was just one of those accidents. I had signed up to an online subscription service for session musicians, for working with session musicians. And initially it had EU startup funding, so it was cheap as chips. And it's not cheap as chips now, but very kindly, they've continued what they call the legacy subscriptions, people like me that started in the beginning. So I was just going through their roster trying to find a guitarist, and I was looking for somebody who was maybe able to work with different cultural kind of references. And I saw that Vitaliy played the oud, as well as the guitar. And so I thought, that's my man, that's the one. And I think the first thing we recorded was her art for the we put it out on an EP.
Yeah.
And Vitaly's, I was just blown away by Vitaly's classical playing, but then we tried a couple with electric guitar as well, and that was amazing. So I mean, Vitaliy can play anything and make it sound amazing. So it's, yeah, that's how we met. So many sessions later, here we are.
And Vitaliy, is it always been remote? Have you ever managed to come together?
No, we actually never met in person. Yeah, so this is a thing that is still to come. I hope we will meet someday.
It's really interesting what you can do now remotely to produce a record that's so detailed like this one is, and doing it in a remote way. When you signed up, Louise, to this, did you ever imagine that this relationship would become what it is?
No, I mean, I always had it in the back of my mind, wouldn't it be nice to make an album? But I never thought I'd actually achieve it. I actually just signed up because I wanted to hear my songs sounding as good as they could. And my ukulele playing just doesn't do it. So it just grew from there. And then when the tracks, we started doing all these tracks, I thought, well, there's an album here, definitely. And then I shared some of the tracks with Jeremy Toms at Stereogram Recordings, and he said, there's a theme here, And I thought, is there? And I went back and looked and thought, oh yeah, there is a theme. And that was how the album kind of started to form.
Well, let's talk about the theme that kind of the themes are perhaps that run through the album. What did Jeremy spot? That's interesting.
Well, Jeremy is very good at these things. He didn't actually give me his definition. He just said there's a theme and left it to me to work it out. But when I looked at the list of songs we'd done, it wasn't hard to work out. I mean, we actually recorded and mixed well over 20 songs.
Wow.
But there was definitely, there were songs along this theme that didn't make the album just for reasons of space. So there definitely was a theme. And I would say that the theme is accommodating our understanding of mortality and different aspects of that, like ranging from the experience of personal loss and knowing that one day we won't be here, that we're going to die one day. And I think it's at the age I'm at, I've always had a kind of drawn to a bit to those kind of dark thoughts throughout my life. But now that I'm this age, there's a kind of pressing feeling that I really need to look at these things properly now, having carried hurts as we all do, carried hurts for decades. So I would say that's most of these songs, if you look at them in depth, they're about different ways of coming to terms with that and making room for it in your life, because your relationship doesn't change with the person. Well, it changes, but it's not ended. So they're simultaneously absent and present. And so the songs are a way of exploring, for me, how to manage that absolute existential dissonance between, them being simultaneously absent and present. So I would say that's the key theme of the album, of the songs, yeah.
And Vitaliy, how then musically do you interpret Louise' songs, if interpret's the right word? How do you kind of now have an innate understanding of the sort of music that works with them?
Yes, I think it comes from my love to ECM records. It has specific, like they call it ECM sound, and I grew up being a fan of a lot of ECM records. So this sound is like in my head, and I just told Louise yesterday that I'm so happy to have this album in my discography, because this is the most ECM sounding record I ever recorded. So, and it came so that I tried that. I mean, it's just we just found that sound immediately from the first session. Yeah, we felt that there should be space. We don't need most of the songs. They don't have any rhythmical instrument like drums, and they don't have even like bass. So it's very very sparse sound with mm, the reverb, and a lot of silence, between notes. That's what I love. It's the silence between notes.
Could you explain ECM? Because that's a phrase I don't think I'm aware of.
That's that's a record company from Munich, Germany,
Okay.
and it's quite famous. I mean, yeah, probably among musicians mostly, and uh, but it has this legacy, and there is a term ECM sound, which means like quite spacious sound, and they say it's uh, the closest music to silence or something like that.
I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds
Love
right
that.
up my street.
Yeah. So yeah, they like it's yeah. As I said, I grew up on those albums, and this sound, this sound is always in my head. So yeah, and we, it was. There was no search. I mean, it's just clicked from the very first session. We connected, and I really think that it was like a miracle. I mean, people, like people gather in bands by meeting each other, but we never met each other. I mean, we talk, of course, through internet, and but still, the way we connected, I think there is some miracle in that, and I'm really happy that my life gave me that present of meeting, of knowing Louise and working with her. And yeah, as she said, we have recorded like I think yeah, more than 20 songs, maybe close to 30. So there's probably enough material for the second album.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you if there would be more to come. But before you maybe say that, Louise, we've talked about the themes. What about the inspirations for these songs?
There's a whole variety. I was thinking about that because, the inspirations come in all different ways. I mean, they can be very visual. I often get a visual image. So, for example, My Only Sorrow, I had a very clear visual image of that, and luckily managed to find a scene in real life that almost depicted it perfectly. So I'll get a visual image, and then I have to work out, well, what's happening here? What's the story? Why am I seeing this? What am I feeling? What am I doing in this landscape? So that's how that song grew. There's the just collision of ideas, like in Light Blue. And sometimes it's just an inspiration in the moment. Like Willow was written in this room, which didn't used to be anything on the walls here. It used to be just bare yellow walls, and looking out the window and seeing a raven and contemplating my own mortality. And that's a moment of peacefulness around the whole issue. That's where Willow came from. And watching things like Simple Pleasures, I'd just been watching a series called all the little fires everywhere or something, and that triggered that one. And I have to talk about Vivo Sohando, because that was inspired completely by Vitaliy's playing. Vitaliy was visiting Serbia and gone to a park and was playing a classical piece that was very chromatic. Well, it was chromatic, and I loved Vitaliy's playing, and of course I listened to it, and I was really surprised because I liked it, and it kept going places you didn't expect it to go because it was chromatic. And from a conversation with Vitaliy about it, that turned into a song challenge. I thought, I wonder if I can write a song that uses every chord a completely chromatic song. And that was where that came from. And it turned into actually really quite a deep emotional experience for me writing that song. So inspiration comes from all sorts of places.
Yeah, Viva Sahanda is also my one of my favorite tracks. And if I heard it without knowing, the chromatic approach that Louise took to it, I wouldn't know it, because I mean, Louise did it so musically, that it sounded just beautiful, as beautiful music, and I wouldn't guess that it's, like it has all the chords imaginable.
Thank you.
And Vitaliy mentioned Martha Bridie, which is one of my favorite tracks on it as well, which is almost like a folk song, would you say?
Well, that was never meant for release.
Right.
That was, it's one of my favorite poems that my dad wrote. And I picked it up a few years ago and thought, oh my goodness, that's a song. Look how reggae, look at the rhythm in it. I thought, that's a song. So I just threw a little melody onto it and thought, that's a nice little ditty, And then it was when we were putting the album together, and Jeremy at Stereogram actually said, you got to get something that's not so gloomy in here. You got to get something a bit more upbeat. And I don't have much, to be honest. And I seem to have less faith in the upbeat stuff that I write.
Right. Okay.
So in desperation, I threw in Martha Bridie and another couple of tracks, and he really liked it. He said, yeah, put it on the album. And I'm going, what? But yeah, so that was why it ended up on the album, and I'm getting a lot of feedback about it. People like it. Yeah,
perhaps it is because it's a contrast to the majority of the rest as well, and it's nice to hear that your dad's poetry is still influencing the work and kind of featuring.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, in fact, the Wild Sea's Edge. I wrote that song, and it was only afterwards I happened to be looking at one of my dad's poems and realized that exact phrase is in the poem. It's about seeing a woman who's blind walking down on Aberdeen Beach, and he'd written a poem about that, and it had the Wild Sea's Edge as an actual line in the poem. And I'm thinking, we're all influenced by things we're not even aware of, things we've long forgotten, but they affect us. Yeah.
And Vitaliy, when you get the songs, do you have questions for Louise that come from them?
Well,
I'm trying to think with the things like perhaps the images or some of the language or whatever it might be, or do you just have kind of you've worked together now so you kind of understand?
Well, I don't remember it much. Maybe Louise can remember if I ask her to explain something.
Well, it's an organic part of the process, like when Vitaliy and I get online to do a session,
Yeah.
I'll say to him, well, this song this is the emotional mood here, or he'll have already, got an idea that he plays, and I'll say, yeah, that's perfect because this is what the song's about. And so it's more a part of the conversation, part of the process.
Oh yeah, sometimes you send me the explanation in the text file, right? Like a short couple of sentences to, just to explain the mood.
Yeah, and that's interesting because when I first started working with Vitaliy, I thought I had to tell him what to play. I thought I had to be in charge of the session. I had to tell him what to play. And I very quickly realized that was not the case. What I had to tell him was what the song meant to me, and he would be able to express that just so perfectly, so beautifully, musically. So I no longer, with any of the musicians on Musiverse, will try and tell them what to play because they know so much better than me. And it's just incredible how Vitaliy manifests the song just from a few words, 30 seconds of conversation. And he just has this amazing ability to turn that emotional essence into sound. It's beautiful.
And in these conversations, Louise, do you end up learning more about the songs themselves? Do things occur to you while you're having such conversations?
I don't think I've had that experience,
Right.
because by the time I get to the point of recording it, I've understood what it's about.
Right. Okay. I
I'm
was just
trying to,
thinking back
yeah,
to Jeremy, suggesting that there was a
yes,
theme that you had to unpick.
yeah. I think the songs for me, often I'll write the song just from instinct, just from physical feeling, and from imagination. And it can be some time after that I work out what it's really about. I've had that experience, but usually that happens before I get to the point of recording it, because to be able to record it, every micro decision, as far as my writing is concerned, has to have been made.
Right.
The
Okay.
structure has to be nailed down, and that can change in a session, but I have to have that plan, those decisions, so yeah, I've spent a lot of time living with a song by the time I bring it to Vitaliy. Usually, yeah, I'm getting faster because I trust him so much.
We should say it's not just the two of you on this album. There are other people involved as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there is a track, one track with the cello, just like two overdubs or more of cello playing, and it's band tricks, right, Louise? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Well, you tell the names and of other musicians.
Yeah, every one of them has been a joy to work with. I'm so grateful for what they've done for the songs. Ben Trigg is a cellist in England, and I can't remember the first track we put him on. I think it was Her Art. And he's just a joy to work with. And like Vitaliy, he just gets what the songs are about and turns that into music. And again, like Vitaliy, way beyond what anything I could have imagined. And he did that for Wild Sea's Edge. And I actually meant to take it to Vitaliy after Ben laid his track down. I was going to take it to Vitaliy to do guitar. But when I heard what Ben had done with the cello, I thought, it's just it was sparse, and the song is quite spare, so I didn't want to mess with it. He just realized the essence of the song so completely. It was, poor Vitaliy had nothing to do.
And I also wanted to ask you about the cover, because it's a beautiful cover, and I believe it's Aberdeen Bay. Is that the name of it?
It is, yeah. There's an artist living in Edinburgh now, Phil Duthie, and he's originally from Aberdeen. And I didn't know any of this, but we were looking for artwork for the album, and I've always loved his paintings. He started during lockdown putting a painting up every day of a seascape or a landscape. And I love his paintings because they're a combination of the abstract, but the very vivid physical feeling of being in that landscape. I don't know how he does it. And I was kind of scrolling through his website, and I saw this picture, and I just felt that blast of air that you get on Aberdeen Beach. And I thought, oh, that's the feeling. That's the feeling. And I looked at the bottom of the webpage, and it said it was called Aberdeen Bay. So, and I thought, oh, I wish we could get that for the album. And I was telling Jerry about it, and he said, oh, I know Phil.
Of course.
Phil and I go way back. So long story short, Phil very kindly lent us the artwork for the album. I'm very grateful to him for that.
Yeah,
I just love it.
It's brilliant. It's really fitting as well. And in a moment, we're going to hear the track you mentioned, Louise, Willow. But before that, I think Vitaliy hinted that there may be more to come. Can you even think about that at the moment, or is it all about this album at the moment?
Yeah,
Vitaliy?
just yesterday we spoke with Louise, and we decided that we should continue our collaboration because we enjoyed it so much, both of us, and I love her songs, and there will definitely be a second album, right, Louise?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what it'll sound like, but there'll be one.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear and exciting to hear. But for now, Louise, Vitaliy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and Vitaliy getting up so early to do so as well. I love the album. I've been listening to it a lot over the last few days, and there's something really kind of almost genuinely moving about it as well. I think it really kind of gets into you.
Thank you so much, Ali. That means a lot. And thank you so much for having us on the program. It's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. And
yeah, thank you, Alistair. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to see you both. And again, thanks for coming on. And from Songs from the Wild Sea's Edge, this is Willow.